Okay, back again in About Time 2. I skipped out on today's afternoon stream. Going straight for the evening stream. And yeah, here's a panning shot, by the way, of the 250 Arj wide Pantagruel. Oh dear. More panning shots. It's quite a lineup we've got here.
So this is what Duke Cayenne looks like from up close. It's hard to believe that I've ended up in the same room as the leader of the Noble Alliance. Although, I guess we did meet back in Legram before the war broke out.
Rean Schwarzer. Truth be told, we don't want this war to drag on any more than you do.
That's
really?
what you say.
We only acted as we did, due in part to our dearly departed Chancellor's behavior being far too unreasonable to justify turning a blind eye.
Huh.
He garnered the trust of His Majesty, and in turn misused that trust. He flagrantly disregarded this nation's beloved culture and traditions, treating Erebonia as if it were his own personal property. Surely you too noticed this.
Well, I can't say I disagree.
Yeah, that's the bad thing.
I did hear story after story during our field studies about how aggressive his policies were. About the way he didn't care how many enemies he made as a result. Creating terrorist groups like the Imperial Liberation Front.
Sheesh. There's a whole ton of problems.
But as I said, the cause of our nation's ills is now gone. Now, all that remains is to turn back the hands of time just a touch, and the good old days of the Empire will be upon us once more.
So that's your motive, that's your angle.
The key to this bright future lies in putting aside our differences and joining hands. Am I wrong?
Are your actions speaking the same way as your words?
Do you honestly believe that people can so easily put aside their differences after all the Alliance has done? You occupied Heimdall and effectively took every one of its citizens hostage, imprisoned the Imperial family. And let's not forget how you're now in league with the enemy nation responsible for the destruction of Garrelia Fortress. After all that, the Imperial army would never bow their heads to the likes of you, even if the rest of the population did.
My word, I'm afraid there's been a terrible misunderstanding. The Imperial family is simply under our loving protection. They certainly haven't been imprisoned.
Excellent, so why don't we talk it up with them themselves?
But that does bring me to exactly why I want you to help us.
It does?
The Azure Knight is already on our side. But if we had your Ashen Knight as well, that would mean we'd have two of the great knights of Erebonian legend to put into play. Couple them with our Panzer Soldats.
You can shove it.
And the Imperial Army's armored divisions would cower before us. You may not find us winning the war ideal, but this union benefits everyone more than carrying on until our inevitable victory,
Are you sure
I
it's
don't
inevitable?
think it's that simple.
I beg to differ. The presence of Soldats units on a battlefield makes a tremendous difference. What they may lack in firepower and armor compared to tanks, they make up for in mobility and versatility. But more important than even those factors is the psychological impact they have on our opponents.
Well...
Yeah, it was a psychological impact.
We're only human. As such, we are as captivated as we are terrified of giant beings bearing human form. And if that holds true even for mass-produced soldats made with modern technology, it will be all the more true for the divine knights of legend you and Crow possess.
Can't argue with that logic.
I will say it once more. Gileath Osborne is dead. And with his death, all that's left to be done is end this ridiculous war and return order to the Empire. Only then
I don't think he's as dead as you think.
As it should.
And there's a very logical reason for that.
That includes
because
both
if he
your
was
pleasant
dead,
academy life,
it would piss
and
me
the
off.
peaceful days of darling Elise and her friend
Because
the
that
princess.
means...
Are you trying to...
Whatever you ultimately decide, their safety is guaranteed. I would ask that you promise him this, if nothing else, Your Grace.
But of course, I'm not a monster.
I won't call you a monster. But yeah, I'm saying that it's likely that
We may stand on opposite sides of this
Osborn
conflict,
may not
but I
be
still
as
sit
dead
on Thor's board of
as
directors.
we think.